Good morning, everyone. What do you say we find a place to sit? There's plenty of chairs, I think, and tables, and join up and meet somebody new, or reacquaint yourself with somebody you haven't seen in a while. But let's begin our service. I want to welcome you to this particular fellowship, where we take pride in honoring the first people of Florence, the FUUF Indians. And that's pronounced how, Diana? FUUF. There you go. The FUUF Indians strive to protect our environment where we are today. We give thanks to the tribe, past, present, and future generations. So this morning I ask that you rise. We're going to sing Spirit of Life. We do not have any musical accompaniment, and the boards are on the table, and there are 3 verses. I'm going to ask that we sing all 3 verses. This is a first, but let's give it a try. And Karen, do you want to lead us? Sure. Or do we want to just, yeah, we're going to sing all 3 verses, okay? Spirit of Life in a lively fashion.
Spirit of Life is on the back of Lift Every Voice.
It's on the back side of the other.
So I see a whole bunch of people from the community choir here. So although I'm not supposed to be the person up here doing this, I volunteered to do it. So here we go.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Second verse.
Spirit of one, come unto me. Breathe in my soul all the lives the wind is sharing. Blow now as one, swell into all. Stir in each life, giving shapes of common oneness. One stanza rare, all in its dream. Spirit of one, come to me, come to me. Spirit of love, come unto me. Move in my hand to respond to others' passions. Blow through the world, minded as one. One love in all, giving shape to our relations. Love reaching out, love holding in. Spirit of love, come to me, come to me.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. So how many besides Karen and even Katie is quite a singer? So it's nice. Yeah, Katie says yeah. So a couple of announcements, please. I ask that you check your cell phones to make sure that they're off for the day. Thank you, thank you. Off, off. And please remember to remain fully masked while indoors here. We really appreciate that. And if you're new to the facility here, the restrooms are in the back. There's a ladies' room and a men's room, so we have our choice. Isn't that tight? When service is complete, please leave all your sheet music on the tables and we'll collect those at the end. You're invited to meet with Jim after service today. He's got a great program on social justice for all Americans. And Catherine Hemmons will also be available in the private room back here if you'd like her to share with you some affirmative prayer. You have that, that inkling. And in the program, you'll see our upcoming events we'd like you to be aware of. One that's not listed is July 17th here at the Senior Center. There will be a concert with our ever-popular Chris Chandler. And you'll get more information in the upcoming e-newsletters, but suffice it to say, concert here, July 17th. I think doors open at 5:30, and great concert with Chris Chandler. He's quite the guy. So one more thing before I truly begin is I serve on the Peace Health Peace Harbor Hospital Foundation Board. And recently we met, and it was shared with the board members that our caregivers are a little bit tired. They've been a little overworked, and we're losing some. Some are sick, can't be here. Everyone is overworked. So I ask you, how important are the caregivers in our community to us? I would venture to say, pretty darn important. So I volunteered FUUF. You all here are now part of FUUF. Raise your hand, I am now part of FUUF. I printed up and have created some thank you cards that we're going to deliver to over 50 of our doctors, nurses, physician's assistants, etc., including our own Diana Gibson in the back. So I'm going to put some of these on each table. There are pens on every table. I ask that you sign your name. First name, last name, doesn't matter. If the card is blank, then just sign your name below the line next to mine, and I'll fill in the rest later. Okay? Will you do that? I'm going to take just a minute right now, or maybe Rhema and Catherine, maybe you can help me?
Sure. Thank you, Sally.
Oh, no, thank you. So what I ask that you do is just put a few on every table, 5 on every table.
5 on every table?
And when you're done signing your cards, pass them to the next table. When you're done, pass it to the next table. So in the next hour, hopefully they'll all make it around. You can sign your name. You want to add another note on the bottom, that's fine too. First name is fine, last name is okay. You want to do a smiley face, that's great too. Okay, so that's our contribution from FUUF to our healthcare providers. We will probably be doing the same for some of the administrative staff in the future, so expect another round of these. Yes, Ann?
Thank you, Sally, for doing this.
Oh, yes, my pleasure. My pleasure. Are there any other announcements that anyone has that you'd like to share? Yes, Deborah. You got to come up here.
I think you're going to go different.
Yeah, they're all.
We just have our bi-weekly renovation update. Things are coming along pretty well. We're still more or less on schedule. We've fallen a couple days behind due to our field plumbing inspection. Our plumber didn't know which type of vent we needed for commercial because he's mostly residential. But we got that fixed, that inspection is passed, and for the last 2 weeks, we've been working on the drywall, which is quite a slow process. All the pieces of drywall went up fairly quickly, but once that part is done, the taping and mudding has to go in pieces, bits and pieces, because there's a lot of drying time involved. So we've had fans, heaters, and dehumidifiers running on full blast 24/7, and they're trying to get it to dry as fast as possible, and it's almost done tomorrow. There will be sanding and then texturing, and then we will be going on to the painting. This coming week was the week we had scheduled for painting, and hopefully we'll get it done this week, but because we're a few days behind, we may or may not. So we learned that with newly textured drywall, you cannot paint it with a roller, because it'll mess up the new texture. So it has to be sprayed. They will be masking everything off. And since it has to be sprayed for that first coat of sealant, we decided it would be most efficient to just have paint sprayed on as well. So hopefully that'll be happening in this coming week, and then we'll be moving on to the flooring. So So are there any questions about
What
what's
color
going
paint
on?
are we doing on the wall?
Probably the same as what's in the library.
Just kind of an off white.
Yeah, it's Navajo, it's called Navajo.
Okay.
Can we call
it Siuslaw white?
We got the color from Fresh Harvest after they did their remodel.
Okay.
A lot of people were in there and really liked their color, so we went with the
So
same.
we're gonna be hungry every time we come into church.
Well, we're planning to bring color in through the furnishings and artwork and everything against a neutral background. So any other questions?
Great.
Ashley?
Yeah.
Crepe white.
We need, or I would recommend that we have some sort of system to rotate all these.
Just send it to the counterclockwise.
We went counterclockwise.
Go this way. Go this way. To your left, to your right, to the front. And please, I know I don't want to detract from anybody up here, so if you can just quietly sign the cards and still pay attention up front, okay? So, thank you for that, Ashley. We do need a system, don't we? Yeah, thank you. Okay. So, I am going to invite, any other announcements? And thanks for the update. I really appreciate that, Deborah. Catherine, do you want to come up and light the chalice? Would you please?
Those are probably all right there.
So our chalice lighting this morning is authored by Marilyn Falkowski, and it's titled, Come, Whoever You Are. Come, whoever you are. We know you come here for different reasons. To find community, to seek your spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find the answers to some of your bigger questions. Come, whoever you are. We know you come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, and different backgrounds. We hope you will find comfort, connection, challenge, and love here. We hope you will find ways to provide outreach to others in our fellowship, in our local community, and in the world community. Blessed be. Actually, that was a welcoming, not even a chalice lighting, but we're going to put those both at once, okay? Do we have anybody here today for the first time? And I think we do.
We do.
And if we do, we have a lovely gift for you. It's a book by our local author who authored this fabulous book. It's called Windows to the Light. And it's a wonderful book of haiku meditations. And I would love to give you one of these books if you would just simply stand and maybe introduce yourself, and we'll make sure that we get you one of these books. Anyone? Oh, yes.
Peter and Allison Hudson, we just moved here.
We just got here on Tuesday, just in time for all of the heat. Would you like one too?
So it's their fault.
Anyone else here for the first time? Okay, wow, that's good. Well, welcome. We really appreciate your being here today. So what we read just a moment ago was going to be my welcoming, right? Good welcoming.
Yeah.
Then I had a chalice lighting. Can I read that too?
Yeah.
Because that's a good one. So pretend that we're going to light the chalice again. To be a Unitarian Universalist means we'll never be done with the work. The work of telling the truth about oppression. The work of resisting any laws, policies, or practices that deny anyone their humanity. Woo! The work of stubbornly seeking out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what the work of creating heaven on earth. To be a Unitarian Universalist also means we're not alone in the work. We are not alone because of our promises to love one another. We are not alone because we are companions on the journey. We grow ourselves into allies, helping one another get free because none of us is truly free until we are all free. Blessed be. So I invite Catherine up. We have our opportunity to share your joys and concerns, and Catherine will lead us through this. And I'll be glad to drop some shells if you like.
Good morning, everyone. This is the time of our service. We share our joys and concerns. We reach out, take a chance to reveal something about ourselves, especially if we need support, but also if we're just having a joy that all of us need right now to be shared around as well. You can come up as well, and Sally will hand you the mic. You can drop a shell in the cleansing water after it. It's kind of our little ritual to send the intention out. I have a couple things to say first. I have a couple of joys. I see Xana sitting there, and she hasn't been here for a while, and I'm very happy to see her. And I see Natasha. She was here last week, but I forgot to say it, and she's here once again. She lives in Portland now. Thank you for coming. Lovely to see your face. In different events, you've been popping up all over town. I like that. And I do have a card over here to share. You know, Helen Hartman has done so much for this community for so many years. And she's recovering right now, and recovering well. But I have a card there with her name on it that, you know, please sign, because she deserves all of our accolades for everything she's done for years. Would you put a shell in that? Mm-hmm. And of course I have a sorrow, more than a concern about what's going on in this country. And all of you have your own feelings about it. Very similar, I imagine, in this room. The feelings are very similar, but you know, out of tragedy, the phoenix comes out of the ashes always. So, anyone else?
We've got Ashley and Jean. Do you want to come forward, or do you want me to bring the microphone to you? Jean's coming up. Ashley, if you want to come up, or do you want me to bring the mic?
Good morning, everybody. Thank God. You're here, and this is Sunday. I just got a phone call. A friend of mine of 52 years, she just died. Cancer, of course. Anybody die of anything else anymore? Yeah, she was a very, very dear friend and a former partner, so my heart's a little broken.
Thoughts are with you.
Sure.
Ashley?
Hey, I'm Ashley, and
Okay.
and I'm part of the care committee here, and if y'all feel like it, if you're on the care committee, stand up so everybody knows who you are. So if you know someone that needs something, wants something, a phone call, a car, they need some groceries, if they need anything, contact me, one of these fine ladies, Natasha, Jean, and we want to be there, but we don't know there's a need unless somebody lets us know. So help us out to help others, and that's all. Is that all?
Sure.
That's
And
it.
your number will now be on the back of the service.
Yeah, my number's in the program. No crank calls.
How many pizzas do you want?
I have caller ID.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
David?
Well, I wasn't going to do this today, but since it's talking about doctors and nurses and chaplains, in my case, because I'm married to one, Johnny Schmidt, and so there was this big party. Well, it wasn't real big, but it was a great party because there was great food. And in Eugene, Dal and Joni from East Harbor, and some other chaplains from River Bend. And what the joy in this was that these, these chaplains, they have to be all things to all people. I once upon a time kind of considered becoming a chaplain, a military chaplain, for minutes on end. But these are really interesting people because they're not just well educated and compassionate, but they're all over the map, just like Unitarians, and spiritually. And one was Buddhist, another one, he would have fit right in here, and Christians, and there's just all kinds of people, and it was just really a joy to be able to talk with people who I don't necessarily agree with. I don't necessarily agree with my wife all the time either, but anyway, it was a joy. So.
Drop a shell, would you?
I'm back up here again. I just wanted to share a joy, which is that my friend Christine from Portland has been here for the weekend. She's a longtime UU and a musician who knows the UU hymnal.
Oh my. Okay.
She's a pianist, and I woke up this morning to a beautiful harp concert going on out on my deck. So I just wanted to say how much I appreciate Christine and her being here. She's thinking of moving to Florence, from Portland, so if you can help me convince her. I ended up with a pianist.
Come on, she's hiding right there.
Okay.
We have a joy to share. John and I have been cocooning very well. In fact, we recovered from COVID. We did get COVID. Vaccinated times 3, thank goodness. But our joy is Patrick, who's now finished his junior year. And many of you know our son Patrick from the plays he's been in, Last Resort Players, and earlier Crow. Well, he's on his senior project in Spain, and he is just bathing in the beauty. And he is so thrilled and wants to go to graduate school there. And sees, oh my God, how these people live. I don't think he's missing the capitalism here. So we're supportive of him, and he sends photos every day, and we Zoom. And it's just such a joy to see him thriving and just bathing in the beauty. So we're very grateful. And we're grateful for the community and the village that helped raise him. Because we didn't do it alone, and we're very, very grateful to all the support he received here. And when he gets back, we'll be going to the UU camp, family camp, for a week in the Redwoods, our tradition, in Mendocino Woodlands. So we're just very grateful and happy to be here and happy to be healthy. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. Give them our love. Can we have one more?
Oh, please.
You're short.
I'm Alison Hussman, and my husband Peter and I just moved here on Tuesday. We are sharing our joy. We're so happy to be here, moved from Tahoe, and I'm happy to be at a lower elevation. We feel joy towards Steve and Ruth, who made us feel welcome. I'm a prayer chaplain at Unity at the Lake in South Lake Tahoe, and plan to continue that, but I'm really excited about joining this congregation and getting to know you more. So we're just in joy and excitement. We haven't moved into our house yet, but it's all been one big adventure. So thank you for being so welcoming, everyone we've already met.
Put a shell in for her joy.
Do we have one more?
Oh, okay.
Busy. All right, is there anybody else?
You can line up.
I just wanted to say that I
hosted the game night last night, and we had fun. Even though the game was confusing and not very fun, we had a blast.
We had a blast.
So, we had 8 people there mostly from our congregation. So, thank you very much. It was fun.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Hi, my name's Renee. I have to testify tomorrow against someone I love in court. And I thought I would come up to the microphone and speak because I haven't spoken in front of a microphone for a long time. But I would hope that you would all say prayers and best wishes for me and Patricia. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. That's really hard, I know. One more thing, I forgot, and this person, and maybe someone can help me here. He is the second minister at the Episcopal Church. And those of you who have been here a long time, it's not Reverend Dawn, and I have forgotten his name. Anyway, he's in end-of-life care right now. He's part of our faith community here in town. Jeff Lovejoy informed me of this, and so just think of him. Just think of him. Thank you. Are you coming up? Oh, Judy, you're not coming up. All right. I just want to finish with one of the quotes I like. I've been reading this little book, When I Loved Myself Enough, you know. When I loved myself enough, I could tell the truth about my gifts and my limitations. Blessed be.
Love joys and concerns. Love that part of our program. So we do have a hymn. I selected this because I thought it would be appropriate for today's talk. It's called Lift Every Voice and Sing. Now we have a choice. We can either read the words together, or if somebody's brave enough, Karen Hernandez, maybe she'll come up and lead us a cappella. So the point is, she's going to sing, you can join her, or you can read the words. Deal? Deal. Deal. So she's got to be able to sing loud in here, and if you want to rise as you are able, we're going to sing this song or speak the words.
Now again, come on, there's this, how many people in here know the melody?
Good.
Oh, we don't have a lot of people. Oh, maybe we shouldn't sing.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay, let's give it a shot. Martin, you want to come up and help me? Come on. You got as good a voice as I got. I'm not saying that.
It was written by 2 brothers.
Is that working again? Okay.
James Weldon Johnson and his brother wrote this in around 1900, and it became what is known as the Black National Anthem.
Yes.
So it's good that we're all standing.
Yes.
Yes.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our joy rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the darkness has brought us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Should we do another verse?
You want to do another verse? Okay, yes. Here we go.
My glasses know the melody better.
Stony the road we trod, bitter the chasing rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed.
And mothers.
We
the blood of the slaughtered, up from the glowing past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast.
Play ball.
Well, you all are very brave. Thank you very much. Thank you. Selling the video of this today online for the highest bidders. Okay, all right. You want to buy it for yourself and keep it safe and sound. So today's message is titled Social Justice for All Americans. And it is my pleasure to welcome our own Jim McDiarmid, PhD. So Dr. Jim is going to share his thoughts on, well, is there justice for all Americans? And if not, why? And if so, good. Would you please welcome Jim McDiarmid?
Thank you, Sally, for your generous introduction there. First, I wanted to acknowledge John Raimondo over here, who contributed quite a bit of research and data that I was able to incorporate into this talk. So, you've often heard this quote from Dr. Martin Luther King that the arc of moral universe bends toward justice. But what is not often added was something he said a little later. We the people need to put our hands on the arc to help it bend toward justice. And this week, with all its of the current events, it's very timely, and I had to kind of winnow things down to 8 topics of inequality. And I'm going to start off with one that has been around with us since 1619, and that is when we brought the first slaves from Africa to the colonies. After Barack Obama was elected president twice, some folks were starting to talk about a post-racial society. On the other hand, I don't think the parents of Trayvon Martin thinks that we live in a post-racial society, nor are the families of people like Michael Brown, Eric Gardner, and George Floyd believe that we live in a post-racial society. There's been a rise in white supremacy groups since Barack Obama was elected president. And of course, with the past administration, they've come out of the woodwork and more brazen than ever. And in fact, in the summer of 2020, when we had all those wonderful Black Lives Matter demonstrations, the former guy in the White House suggested that the police shoot these peaceful demonstrators. We've had 9 African-American worshipers shot by white supremacists, Dylan Roof, in a church in Charleston, and more recently, we've had blacks targeted in a Buffalo supermarket. So certainly we don't live in a post-racial society. There's a lot of problems that we've had that are even getting worse. For example, resegregation. In other words, more and more communities, because of the housing prices in certain areas are higher, have better schools. Most other countries have one pot of money and they divide it up amongst all the various school districts, but not the United States, because our taxes reflect the property values, and therefore in certain places they have extra money for things like music and art and current or extracurricular activities and things like that that poorer communities don't have advantage to. voting is really the backbone of American democracy. We've had a long history of non-whites being disenfranchised or being kept from voting, and that's still going on, as you know, with the election that we're going to have this November. When Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal, he was really talking about white men, certainly not women, and just white men who own property. So we have moved, made improvements. In 1869, the 15th Amendment gave the freed slaves the right to vote, but right away there was pushback. For example, the Ku Klux Klan in the South intimidated blacks who wanted to vote. And then they came up with various ways of keeping blacks and other minorities from voting. For example, they had a poll tax, so you had to pay in order to vote. They had another one called the grandfather clause, where you couldn't vote unless your grandfather could vote. And by the way, that poll tax was not made illegal until 1966.
Really? Yep.
And it's just recently we had the 100th anniversary of women finally being allowed to vote by the 19th Amendment.
Oh, that's mighty wonderful.
And we had a really good Voting Rights Act passed during Lyndon Johnson's administration, but of course that's been gutted by the Supreme Court.
Of course.
Another one that probably doesn't get as much attention from the media, but is still very important, and that is gender inequality.
Right.
The women's movement in the 1960s resulted in the Equal Rights Amendment in 1972, and the closest we ever came to actually getting this proposal adopted as an amendment was when you had 35 votes out of the 38 we needed. But some of the states that had approved it started to renege and take their vote away. So the bottom line is, here it is this many years later, and we've never passed an equal rights amendment. This gender equality, of course, is even worse in some countries where girls aren't even allowed to go to school. And then, of course, more recently, the dramatic change that happened this week of taking away rights that were once granted. Fortunately, we did have demonstrations here in Florence yesterday with the overturn of Roe v. Wade. And it's kind of scary when you have very conservative judges like, or justices like Justice Thomas, who says he wants to revisit LGBTQ rights as well as access for women's birth control. And there's even talk about reversing marriage equality. So violence against women really continues. 1 out of every 4 women is going to be or has been assaulted by their husband, their boyfriend, or their intimate partner. And this is one that, the next one is really just blows me away. Every day, 3 women die at the hands of their husband, boyfriend, or intimate partners. So that's over 1,000 a year. So rape and sexual harassment continues in the military and will continue until they start separating the investigations and the trials from the military and have independent judges rather than officers who just cover it up and using the old boys network allows this to continue. Now, when you fathers and mothers send their daughters off to college, you think they're going to be safe. 1 out of every 5 college women is subject to rape, assault, or harassment during their time as a college student. And in the news this week, an NFL owner of the Washington Commanders has found out that he has been interfering with an investigation into sexual harassment within his team, and that goes back to 2009. Now, another one that gets plenty of publicity, and rightfully so, is gun violence in the United States. So when the 33 people were killed at Virginia Tech, I thought, well, there'll be some reforms now, there'll be some gun safety legislation. No. But when 20 children, 6 and 7-year-olds were killed at Sandy Hook, I thought, well, surely now we'll do something about it. And it wasn't until recently with Uvalde and of course the accumulation of all these mass shootings in schools that we finally decided we're going to at least do something toward coming up with gun safety laws. 1 out of every 3 homes in America has a gun. There are 400 million guns in the United States, which means in those 1 out of 3 homes that have a gun, some of them have multiple guns. If a home has a gun, they're 5 times more likely to result in an unwanted death. They're 4 times more likely to have a successful suicide using a gun. And of course, the National Rifle Association has contributed literally millions of dollars to politicians. Of course, more Republicans than Democrats, but there are Democrats that have accepted money from the NRA. Gun violence is the leading cause of death in children and teens. Suicide using a gun is the second cause of death in children and teens. But finally this week, we did have a bipartisan bill passed and signed, even though it's grabbed the low-hanging fruit of background checks, red flag warnings, and that type of thing. But hopefully we can, once this is passed, we can build on this. And we know that this works. I mean, between 1994 and 2004, they passed legislation to ban AR-15s. And we knew right away that there were fewer mass shootings and there were many lives that were saved during that 10 years. Another problem that doesn't get as much publicity that as it deserves is poverty. 46 million Americans live in poverty. 20% of children live in poverty. And amongst all the developed countries, the United States is has the second highest rate of poverty, second only to Romania. And here we are, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. That doesn't make sense. And we're glad to have places like Food Share. It's so important because, as we know, when children don't get nutritional food, their brains don't develop to their full potential. And this will perpetuate children, and many of them minorities, not fulfilling their educational potential. And education is still the pathway to the middle class. Gone are the days of being able to work your way through college like I did in the 1960s. And just to give you the idea of the barriers of education today financially, if you want to go to the University of Oregon, it's going to cost you in tuition and fees $13,000. And for room and board, books and so forth, that's going to cost you $15,000. So that's a total of $28,000 a year. And it's no wonder that so many graduates end up with like $100,000 worth of student loans that they have to pay off while they're working. I mentioned marriage inequality, which I think, given the makeup of the Supreme Court, reversing this is certainly possible. Most of the justices have gained their seats because of inside connections, political deals, or in the case of the last 3 justices, ideological commitments. And we have a long history of terrible decisions by the Supreme Court. I know that's no consolation, but think about Dred Scott. or in 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson, which allowed Jim Crow laws to be legal for, from that time all the way up to 1954. We had Brown versus the Board of Education, where we decided that separate but equal really wasn't equal. The next one I want to talk about is criminal justice, which in some ways is really not just. The United States has 5% of the world's population, but 25% of all the people behind bars in the world are Americans. There's an excellent book by Michelle Alexander called The New Jim Crow, where she talks about the cradle to prison pipeline for African American males. And why is this? Well, it starts from the very beginning. A non-white person is more likely to be arrested because police actually have a fair amount of discretion whether they're going to arrest somebody or not. The second thing is once they're arrested, they're less likely to make bail if they don't have much money or don't have connections with family members or somebody that could help them out. Non-whites are more likely to have to plea bargain, and this is even though they may be innocent. They're afraid to go through a trial because they know they're going to get a longer sentence if they're found guilty. Non-whites are more likely to be convicted because they have to rely oftentimes on a public defender as a lawyer who's overworked, has a large case and not able to spend enough time really to defend a person properly. Non-whites are more likely to be given longer sentences for the same offense. And that last two research was actually done by my brother-in-law, Dr. Jim Collins, in the Research Triangle in North Carolina. Only 1 in 9 white men end up having to go to prison. 1 in 6 Latino men will end up behind bars, but 1 in 3 African American men will end up in prison. Now, I've gone through all but the very last one that I want to talk about, and this one you already know about it because you hear about it all the time, and that is economic inequality. So I'm just going to give you one statistic that is, we'll have to substitute for all the many economic inequalities out there. And that is, since 1978, pay for the typical American worker has increased by 18%, which, as you know, doesn't even cover inflation. But pay for the typical CEO has increased by 1,322%. Now, one positive thing is because of the demand for workers, unions, as you see in the news, are becoming more powerful, gaining more and more members. And if you remember, Ronald Reagan is the one that gutted the unions back in the 1980s. So in conclusion, the UU's second of 7 principles is justice and equality for all Americans. We're obviously not there yet, and of course I'm preaching to the choir here at FUUF because most of you already know this. But, like Dr. King said, we must put our hands on the arc of the moral universe if we want it to bend toward justice. Thank you.
We are so fortunate to have you, Jim, and John, to help bring this presentation forward. Truly, this is one of the beauties of being in this particular fellowship. We have all kinds of messages on Sundays, and we always want to bring our members forward if they have a special message they want to share. Social justice is very important. It is, like he says, the second principle that we have, and thank you for that, Jim, very, very much. Yeah, I'm glad we got this recorded today. So, just briefly, Ruth Miller and Dean Schrock and Donna Smith will all be with us again next year. We've entered into memorandums of understanding, if you will, And I bring this up because Ruth Miller is going to spend some time talking over a 7-month period on each of our principles of faith. And she's going to bring it to us from the perspective of Native American culture, present and future. So she's going to be doing something next month, I think, on social justice, on her time here on July 10th, I believe. So we're going to continue to examine our principles of faith of Unitarian Universalism. We invite you to come back. For those who don't know, we are lay-led, and we have, Ruth and Donna and Dean speak to us on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd each month for the most part. And then the 4th and the 5th, we open up to our fabulous members or anybody else in the community who has something important to share as well. So thank you for that, Jim. Really appreciate it. So we're going to move into our offering. And as clumsy as it is, because you can't really pass a basket freely back and forth because it's kind of one basket, I'm going to walk around and ask for your contributions or gifts to this particular fellowship. As well, we continue, today is our final day to raise funds to help our friends of Florence, commonly known as the Cancer Van. These are individuals who volunteer their time. There's a van that leaves every day, 5 days a week, going to Eugene to drop off patients who are undergoing treatment in Eugene, free of charge. They gather at the event center.
No, at Peace Harbor.
At Peace Harbor.
Yeah.
Get on the van, stand, go to Eugene, come on back, no charge to anyone. So the money that we raise helps them pay for the gas and the maintenance of this particular vehicle. So your contributions to the Cancer Van really will be appreciated. I'm going to ask that we pass this around. I'll walk through the audience. I'm not looking to see who's giving or what. If you're not in a place to give today, I ask that you just, quietly bless the basket as it comes by you, okay? No expectation, but we sure do appreciate your gifts. With that, I ask that you repeat after me. Divine love through me.
Divine love through me.
Blesses and multiplies all that I am.
Blesses and multiplies all that I am.
All that I give.
All that I give.
And all that I receive.
And all that I receive.
I am prosperous now.
I am prosperous now.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
So there's no music to play, so you're welcome to talk amongst yourselves. If you want to continue to sign those cards or maybe gather them up and put them on the center table, I'll get those at the very end. So thank you. Talk amongst yourselves. I need to hear chatter. I need to hear chatter. Oh, there you go. Us and them.
Hi there, I just want to mention that Ron Pressler just told me it's Reverend Fraser, correct? Reverend Fraser at the Episcopal Church. Keep him in your prayers.
The middle one is go to me. Thank you, everyone, for your spiritual practice of giving. Your contributions are received in grateful appreciation. Catherine, would you like to come forward and extinguish the chalice, or maybe Jean would like to? Jean, you want to come forward and extinguish our chalice? And with thoughts for you and blessings. closing words are titled Our Connections by Kathy Huff. Our time in this place may have ended, but our connection to each other in this community remains. Together may we walk the path of justice, speak words of love, live the selfless deed, trod gently upon the earth, and fill the world with compassion. Until we meet again, blessed be. So we end today's service by singing our peace song. The words are on the back of the program, I believe. I ask that you rise. We're going to form a circle around all of the tables. And if you'd like to hold hands or lock arms, that's great. If not, that's okay. And when we get that circle all tightened up, we will sing our peace song. Oh, we're making our way.
Slowly but surely.
Oh, everybody, today's going to be a glorious day. It's not going to be as hot as yesterday, you know? It was great yesterday, huh? Yeah. I got to be able to water all my plants more than once. So what do you say? Shall we sing our peace song? Yes. Okay. Let So one last thing, now the church is over, I am taking signatures if you would like to sign the Joe Boudreau for city